Today we are sharing some pros and cons about moving to Oregon versus moving to Washington. And if you are new here, welcome. My name's Mariah.
And I'm Spencer.
And we are a top producing husband and wife real estate team here in Oregon. We work with a lot of relocation clients, out-of-state buyers, people who are moving to our area in Oregon from all over. We love it. So if that's you, if you're thinking about making a move, whether it's to Oregon or anywhere else, contact us and we would love to help set you up with the next steps and guide you in the right direction. So with that being said, although we are in Oregon, we aren't going to be biased because these are not, well, we might be a little biased.
It's hard for me to do.
But
hard for me not to be so biased.
A lot of these are just, they're facts. They're not just like how we feel about Oregon versus Washington. So let's
I just say something real quick though?
What?
I don't think you even wrote this one down.
What?
But one thing I will say, I'm not too happy about it. But one thing that makes Oregon similar to Washington now, pumping gas.
Oh yeah, that's new. But it's actually.
Did you put it on the list? We can talk about it more.
No,
okay, good.
But it's actually, Oregon is still better in that sense because we don't have to get out of our car in the rain and pump it. And in Washington, you do.
Well, no, here's the deal. They just passed the law. You can pump your own gas in Oregon.
Yeah, but we don't have to.
You don't have to.
That's why we're better.
Here's that awkwardness, though, now, because it's like you can stay in your car. There's people pumping gas in front of you. The attendant doesn't actually know
like if you're going
to come to your car or not. That's been my struggle.
Have you gotten gas since this was, when was
absolutely.
this passed?
I mean, this is a matter of like 3 weeks.
Okay, because I heard about it, but I wasn't sure how soon.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty recent.
Yeah,
no, I've had the experience. I've sat in my car, no one came, and I was like, come on, guys. Like, don't assume I'm not, because I almost feel like the attendant doesn't even want to pump the gas anymore.
Well, I'm never going to.
It's going to transition into you're going to pump your own gas.
No.
But like for a guy like me, the reason why it's a love-hate relationship, I don't have a problem pumping my own gas. I know how to pump my own gas, okay? Don't go down that rabbit hole. But what I'm saying is sometimes I'm in some nice clothes here. I'm in like a $2,000 suit. I mean, in total, not just, But what I'm saying is I'm not going to walk into an appointment smelling like gas. I'm not going to want gasoline on my hands.
Yeah.
I mean, my shoe alone, kicking it on a curb, getting a scratch in it, that's going to put a damper in my day. That's how Oregon's winning.
I definitely won't.
That's the biasness in me, though.
Pumping my own gas.
That's a good way to start this show, though. Why gas pumping is so important.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And it brings more jobs to the economy because
I think that was the initial
gas attendees. Okay?
I love it.
So
opportunity.
But we're not starting off with the talk about pumping your own gas.
No.
We are talking about sales tax, number one. All right. So Washington has sales tax and Oregon does not. However, income tax. Oregon has income tax and Washington does not.
See, there's that trade. And that's the question I actually get with clients is, Spence, I mean, retirement, there's income taxes. I mean, so people really do look at that. I appreciate going into a market, going into a store, seeing a price tag and paying that price tag. I don't have to expect a percentage higher at the checkout stand. It's always just drove me nuts when I travel or I'm out of state.
I always forget, you know? Yeah, that's very true. 3, that was 1 and 2. So 3, cost of housing. It is a little higher in Washington. It always depends on the area, of course. But if you're talking about overall, like the state as a whole, if we're just comparing the two states, you're going to get a little more for your money in Oregon. I mean, if we're comparing especially the two major cities or two of the major cities in Oregon versus Washington, let's just compare for a minute, Portland and Seattle. Seattle is going to be obviously,
oh my goodness.
I mean, it's bigger.
And that's what's hurting Washington in this comparison.
It's much more expensive than Portland is. Portland is actually one of, if not the most, I want to say it's the most affordable city on the West Coast.
Oh,
if we're comparing it to other West Coast cities. So just comparing the states though as a whole, Oregon is going to be a little bit, but they are pretty similar.
But keep in mind, here's the deal. They say similarity in pricing, sales price averages. I would consider Washington, to be honest, be a little bit more reasonable in sales price because here's why. You have the Washington, you have the Bellevue area, you have Spokane, you have Yakima. Those are big cities, and usually when you're driving that amount of people, have we done a comparison in population?
No, but if you want to look it up, you can.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is I think at the end of the day, because like she just mentioned, we have Portland, we have Salem. Those are big major cities. Of course, we have Eugene, Roseburg, those type of things, and Bend. But Seattle, Bellevue, those type of areas, they just make Washington
drive up the
off
average
the chart.
so high. Exactly.
And so that's what I'm trying to say.
A lot of these other smaller rinky-dink towns in Washington are going to be pretty comparable to
Well,
these
they're
smaller,
not rinky-dink towns. These are living towns that people love and enjoy, Mariah.
They're going to be comparable to the other smaller towns
there you go.
in Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay, so next, number 4, we have climate. So I know people think of Oregon as a little rain cloud, but we've been having 100-degree days the last
Wasn't everybody?
week and a half. Okay, probably. But Washington does receive a higher average rainfall each year than Oregon
Isn't
does.
that surprising? That's kind of fun, though.
I've always thought of them as pretty much the same far as rain goes. Like as far as just climate goes in general. Obviously, I feel like Oregon's maybe a little more diverse, but depending on like where you're at in the state, because there's definitely areas in Oregon that are, the climate's a lot more extreme, if you will. But I compare like a lot of Oregon to Washington. I feel like
whenever I'm talking in conversation and people talk about climate, Washington versus Oregon, I consider us to be near the same.
Yes. Number 5, the public school system is ranked just a little bit higher in Washington than Oregon. Number 6, traffic is going to be better in Oregon. You're going to have more traffic overall in Washington. Number 7, the Willamette Valley in Oregon feels more accessible to everything. This is to me a big deal, such as rivers, mountains, coast, as well as city, all within an easy drive, which might be a little harder to have all those things in one smaller area in Washington. So I love this about Oregon. It's because it's the way we kind of mentioned this when we were comparing. We did a show a while back comparing Oregon, like moving to Oregon versus moving to California. And it's kind of similar where Oregon, especially the Willamette Valley, though, you can get to so many different, what's the word? Things, mountains,
excursions,
beach. What am I trying
adventures.
to say? Yes, different areas, the city, the beach, the mountains, like all within an hour. They're all very close versus, like we said, when you're in California, you might have to fly from one end of the state to the other because it's so long. But because of the shape of Oregon, you can easily do so many day trips, so many national parks. Like you can hit up so many different spots very easily. And Washington, it's obviously not shaped like California, but it's not quite as accessible, if that makes sense, as California is, as Oregon is to so many different things.
And that's partly why, I just love the Mid-Willamette Valley, living in that Salem central location, because like you just mentioned, the beach, hour away, the sand, if you want to go up in the sand, an hour away, sand duning, the mountains, you can go an hour away, lakes, an hour away. You're literally kind of like in that central location for everything you want. And different type of seasons, winter, fall, spring, there's always something different to do within that season. So those locations really are important. And the accessibility, I would say traffic wise, we compared that. It's huge. The roadways itself is just the big difference that I see Oregon versus Washington.
Okay, number 8. This is according to the people on reddit.com, so it's not my opinion, but they say that Washington's costs don't compare to Oregon's.
Can you break that down? I don't know what that means. Costs.
Like
don't
more
compare.
expensive.
It's more expensive.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 9. You have to pump your own gas in Washington, and in Oregon, you can. We've had people comment on their videos before and say this was a con previously before this law was passed, that this was a con of Oregon was the fact that we can't pump our own gas because we don't have the freedom to if we want to. And it's like freedom of choice or whatever. And
now we have freedom.
Now we have the best of both worlds because we have the freedom, but we don't have to actually do it, which
we're winning.
Again, I don't know why anyone would want to. But number 10. Both states have great outdoor recreation scenery, hiking, that type of thing, which I have not. Whenever we go to Washington, I've been to some of the smaller towns in Washington for random events, things going on in life. But besides, Vancouver, that's like right there, right by Portland, not too far away, only about like an hour. But besides that, anytime I'm in Washington, I'm probably going to Seattle. I've been to, spent time in Bellevue, but usually we just go to Seattle. That's kind of the only thing we ever go to on a consistent basis, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to Washington for. And so I definitely haven't spent any time doing recreation outdoor things in Washington. But according to, again, the people on reddit.com, there's really beautiful outdoor recreation scenery there too.
And leave the audience with this: Oregon or Washington, Mariah?
Oregon 100%.
That's our biasness coming out, but
Yeah.
we do specifically, we love both states, and I think there are a lot of similarities in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And if you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, because we come out with new content weekly, and we don't want you guys to miss out.